Hey everybody, it's Tamika. I'm here to share with you guys a quick tutorial for a coin envelope mini album from start to finish. And here I'm just showing you an example. I'm working on this mini album using the Melissa Francis Fifth Avenue paper stack, which is so pretty. And I'm just showing you how the coin mini album looks when it's done. Finished dimensions of the entire album is 3.5 by 6.5. That's the cover, and the pages are 3 by 6 with a 2-inch spine. I'm starting out with some chipboard. I'm using medium weight chipboard for this particular project because I had some scraps left, and the chipboard is cut at 3.5 by 6.5, 2 pieces, and then a piece at 2 by 3.5. I'm going to cover the cover of this mini album will be in black cardstock. So for the tutorial, I'm just going to use my ATG gun for the duration of the video. So you may want to use some double-sided adhesive or score tape. I'm just connecting two 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper to be able to extend the entire coin envelope mini album. So I'm just placing the medium weight chipboard on the paper, applying some ATG tape on the back just to secure it to the paper so it doesn't move around or crackle when you're opening and closing the mini album. And I'm just adding a couple pieces to all the pieces of chipboard. And again, those chipboard pieces were cut at 3.5 by 6.5 and then 2 inches by 3.5 inches for the spine. And I like to leave 1/8 of an inch gap between all of my chipboard pieces. You can eyeball that or you can measure. I'm just eyeballing it here. Super easy. I'm being careful to leave a nice border around the edges. So that's a little bit more than a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to cut off the excess so I can get prepared to miter my corners. And the way I like to miter my corners is to fold up the edges of the paper to create a crease, just to prepare it so that I'm able to use the corners as a guideline when it's folded for the mitering. Makes it a little bit easier than guessing, 1/8 of an inch around the chipboard, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So right there I'm pointing to where the corners meet. You just want to cut right above or on that corner where the two folds meet. And then that should give you enough space for mitering. Should give you enough to cover the chipboard corners. And if it's you find out that you cut it too close to the edge, you can always add paper when you get ready to cover the inside of the chipboard to cover that corner. Easy fix. So for this part, you may want to use double-sided adhesive for more durability, but like I said, for the tutorial, I'm just going to use ATG tape. And I may end up using this still because ATG tape is pretty good, and I used a good amount on it, so this album should stick just fine. So I like to start at the smallest end and fold it, and then that way the bigger ends can cover if I needed to. See how easy it is to fold that paper down once you already pre-prepped it. You just simply fold it over. Ta-da! Just going over with my bone folder, make sure all of the paper is flat to the chipboard. And again, when you do this part, you want to do it easily so that your paper doesn't crack. And there you have it. Covered chipboard. All I'm going to do is measure out some paper to cover the inside, just so that when I'm getting ready to show you how to make the envelope, it'll be covered and prepared. So now we're going to cut the flanges, and I'm just cutting some pieces. This first piece will be 3 inches. Oh no, I'm not cutting flanges, I'm sorry. I am cutting the layers to cover the inside of the chipboard. And it's cut at 3 inches by 5.5. I'm going to go back and cut another piece, connecting piece. And I'm cutting this at 3 by 5. I'm just going to add some adhesive to that and apply it to my base. I like leaving an extra, a little bit more than 1/2 inch when I'm doing my chipboard covers, so that I won't have to cover from end to end with the inside of the, when I'm covering the inside of this mini album. See that border? I don't have to go all the way to the edge of the book because I have leftover from the cover, if that makes any sense. So this piece, I'm just going to grab a quick Martha Stewart punch to decorate my edges. This is just to show you if you wanted to use decoration on the inside of your mini album, you would do it at this point instead of layering extra pieces of paper and making the creases kind of hard. So you would do it right at this point. Just going to add some adhesive to the back of that connecting piece and apply it to the chipboard. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and just go over those creases lightly so that I can fold the book once again since I layered it with more paper. And I'm going to fold this slowly. And there we have it. So we're going to put that aside, and now we're going to make our flanges. So you'll be cutting 3 different flanges to make a page of 6. So your first cut will be at 3 inches by 3 1/8, and then it's 3 inches, and I'm going to mess up on this, so just bear with me. So it's going to be 3 inches by 2 7/8. I'll put the link. I'll put a little note here so you can see. So the first one was 3 by 3 1/8. The second one ended up being 3 by 2 3/8, and this one is 3 by 3 7/8. You want to get your scoreboard out and cutting not on the 3-inch side but the opposite side. You want to score at 1 inch on both sides. So this is the 3 by 3 7/8, and on a 3 7/8 inch side I'm cutting at 1 inch on the left, flipping it and cutting it at 1 inch on the right. And the same goes for here. This is the 3 by 2 3/8. And on the 2 3/8 side, you want to score at 1 inch on both sides. And do the same thing for the other flange. At this point, you just want to fold over your score, fold over where you scored it and go over it with the bone folder to get a good crease. And I'm taking the smallest piece first. That's the one that's 3 by 2 3/8. And I'm applying a piece of tape. You may want to use double-sided adhesive. And I'm putting it in the next biggest size, which should be the 3 by 3 1/8. Just make sure you center that. Flip it over, add some tape just to the middle parts. Leave the flaps open, and then stick that in the largest flange. Center it carefully. And then make sure you got that secure. You want to take your bone folder and go over those score marks, just so your papers can fold, turn easily. So I'm just showing you how it should be spaced apart. That's all I'm doing. Then you want to take that piece, that whole piece you just made, apply some adhesive to the back, only to the middle part. Grab your cover out and center that on the spine of your cover. And I'm just going over it, the bone folder. And this is what you should have. And this is how they should be spaced apart. We will put that aside because now we're going to make the envelopes. Again, I'm using black cardstock, and I'm cutting my paper, and you'll need 6 of these. I'm cutting these down to 6.5 by 6. And I'm just going to do a second one just so to show you. I'll finish the rest off camera, but for the tutorial I'm only going to do 2. The other ones you follow the same way. Again, I'm cutting at 6.5 by 6. You want to grab your scoreboard again, and on the 6.5 inch side you want to score at a 1/2 inch, and then again at 3 5/8 inch. And I think my bone folder is just super wide for this because it doesn't match, so sometimes my score marks are off, but you want to score at 3 5/8. Do the same thing for this side. On the 6.5 inch side, score at a 1/2 inch, and then score again at 3 5/8. And you want to do this 4 more times so that you will have a total of 6 pages. And we are done with the scoreboard. So now that little flap that's on the end, that 1/2 inch flap that you folded, you just want to apply some adhesive to that flap, because we're going to be flipping that other side to meet that side. So just try to measure it carefully, corner to corner. Like I said, my bone folder is too fat for the scoreboard that I have, so I'm just going to go back over with the bone folder and flatten it out really well. Same thing for this one. Apply some adhesive to that little flap and bring the other side over to meet corner to corner. Just measure it up, make sure you get the corners matching, and then just take your bone folder and smooth it out. So in order for the pages to fit in, you just want to cut off a snippet of the corners of the flanges at an angle, just a little piece, so they can slide in more easily. Or you can shove them on there if you want to, but easier if you just take a tiny little corner off the edge and it slides right in just fine. See? And I'm just going to take this envelope. I have some extra ATG tape that's irritating me, so I'm trying to get that off. And I just want to make sure that that fits on there, snug, nice and tight, and it does. So I want to take my tape and just apply 2 strips to one side of the flange. Just one side. And that I just put two strips of tape on there. Then take your envelope, pay attention to where the mark is. You may want to put that mark from the envelope at the bottom of the page facing downward. And then just adhere that page right onto that flange and secure down the tape. We're going to do it again. Add some ATG tape to the flange, and I'm just looking for where my seam is so I can face it backwards and towards the bottom. And I'm just applying, putting the page on, and there we go. So again, you want to finish that 4 more times to get the rest of it, but look how easy it folds over. Your pages lay flat when you're doing this type of album. I love it. And again, I'm just showing you what a semi-finished version of the book would be and how flat the pages are. Lots of room. And the finished pages are 3 by 6. The pages are, and the mini album is again 3.5 by 6.5. Thanks for watching. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.